What's going on, everybody? We are live, season 2, episode 4 of the Fury and Friends show. And as always, I've got the one and only Jariel with me. How's it going, Jariel?
Good. How are you?
You know, I wish I could say I'm doing great. Granted, this show makes me feel better, but I am a little under the weather right now.
Yeah.
You know, I've always wondered about that phrase, under the weather. Like,
yeah, what is that? What is the
mean?
origin?
Does that mean there's like a storm of sickness and I'm down here?
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, I'm just dealing with, some little cold stuff. The kids have been feverish / snotty and mucusy for the whole week. Praise God, no COVID.
Yes.
But still, but that's all. That's all that's going on. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Yeah, I feel like everyone's dealing with a cold right now. It's like, yeah, everyone's glad it's not COVID, but it's like everyone's got a cold though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's weird these days because it's like, oh yeah, colds still exist, right?
Yeah.
Like you can still have like the normal sickness and it not actually be COVID,
Yeah, I had strep throat like a couple weeks ago, and I was like, oh yeah, that's a thing. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I got that.
Well, you guys, today is going to be a great show. I know we've got some fun topics set aside. We're going to get into some really meaty conversation with our special guest interview. We're going to show you a portion of the interview with Katina Horton, who's a friend of ours. We actually are all in the same microchurch, the Kingdom Justice Project, together. Yeah. And so excited to have you guys get to watch and listen in to that interview today. So much so that I'm even going to make sure that even though we aren't going to show you the whole thing in this episode, I'm going to, if you're subscribed to the YouTube, you're going to catch the second half of that as well coming up in a few days. But before we get into that, we're going to get into some fun stuff. We're going to talk about the Doctor Strange trailer. Jariel got to see Marry Me.
Yes.
We're going to get into one of our new favorite segments, Tik Tok Tea Time.
Yes.
All of that fun stuff coming up in just a second.
Yeah.
So, Jariel, I said at the last episode, Marry Me. I think it had just released, and I was excited after watching it. I've been a fan of J-Lo for years, kind of a quiet crush. Most people don't know that about me. And when it came out, I found out it was on Peacock. So I was like, oh, I got to check that out. So I watched it. I really enjoyed it. I mean, the premise I thought was silly, but I enjoyed it. Now you've seen it, so let's hear it. What are your thoughts about Marry Me?
Well, as I said before, I'm a fan of J-Lo's romantic comedies. Like, I don't care if J-Lo's in it, I'm gonna watch it. So, I do agree the premise was very just unrealistic.
Yeah,
but I didn't care.
Right.
It was so cute and so just I felt like it was a type of movie that we kind of need right now, where it's just like lighthearted, just people falling in love. The music was phenomenal, and I loved it. I loved how she got involved with the kids and how the kids were, competing in math. What is it?
Mathalon, I think.
Yeah, Mathalon. Yeah. Yeah, I just thought it showed different sides of like kids, because math is cool, and I loved it.
As you were just saying that right now, I remembered one of the things that I quietly was connecting with, and that was as a high schooler, I was in our version of that was called Scholastic Bowl.
Oh.
And it wasn't just math, like it was like all sorts of trivia and that sort of stuff. Yeah. And I was in that. I was such a weird kid. Like I was in Scholastic Bowl and on the football team and in the band and like on the drama team. And
well, you were ahead of your time. That's what the kids are doing now. They do what they want.
Yeah. And I think what was true then is still true about me now, that like I can't always like really just pick a lane.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just gonna take the whole highway. And y'all gotta know I'm gonna be doing one of these all the time. Yeah, but so you dug it too, huh?
Yeah, I'd say 10 out of 10. Watch it.
Yeah. And I like what you said too. I think that it is one of those types of shows or movies that we kind of need right now, where it's like it's lighthearted. We
Hmm.
know it's gonna have a happy ending, you know.
Yes.
So, I think that's one of the reasons why Larissa, my wife, is in love with K dramas right now. So if
Yeah.
we might talk about those one week. But
Yeah.
the understanding is that like there's always the happy ending, like there's
Hmm.
love and romance. And one of the things that she also appreciates about that whole genre is, unlike a lot of the media here in the West, it's super wholesome. Like,
Yeah. Yes.
the things that she says is like it escalates up to the point where they finally kiss in the
Oh,
final episode, you know, like,
yeah. That's so innocent
yeah,
compared to.
yeah, yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so I mean, even like looking at this movie, like it starts with a marriage, right?
Exactly. There's no escalation.
Right, right, right. Oh goodness. Well, I'm glad you dug that. So
Yes.
another thing that I think we are in agreement on is our excitement about the upcoming Doctor Strange sequel,
Yeah.
Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
Yes.
Now, caveat, as believers, this is another one of these places where we need to understand we are not looking at this and believing this to be any sort of symbol of reality. Like this is complete fiction. Like we're
Yes.
not we're not into the dark arts. We're not promoting witchcraft or anything like that. Like
Correct.
we're talking superheroes and supervillains and in a false world. Okay. So having said that,
Exactly.
this trailer, man, this movie looks bonkers in a good way.
I am surprised that I am still have a face because my face was blown off.
Yeah.
So good.
So, did you see their release of the trailer that they did in the Super Bowl,
Well, I
or did
saw the
you just
one
see
prior to
it?
that, and then I saw the one that they did during the Super Bowl, and I was just like, I haven't been able to relax about it ever since. I'm like talking to if someone says Doctor Strange, I'm like, oh my gosh, what about that? I'm so excited. I
Yeah.
don't know what I'm gonna do with myself until May.
Well, thankfully there'll be other little things to
Yeah,
let your
yeah,
appetite.
yeah.
Hopefully they successfully, like pull out what they're trying to accomplish. Yeah, I'm looking at you, the Batman.
Yeah. Oh, must we?
But we won't go there. We're in our happy place talking about the Doctor Strange too.
Yeah.
There's so many things in there that like we don't even have time to unpack everything, and we don't even know what everything is. But there was so much going on in there. So many like things that were bringing back thoughts from other shows and
Mhm.
films, and then forecasting the introduction of other ones, and like it
Oh,
it
so
looks like
much.
it looks like really good.
And yeah, I love that they brought in like pieces of the What If series.
Uh-huh.
Oh my goodness. It was
Yeah, so
just
like that, I'm sorry, I just got distracted. I finally saw Jonathan's comment.
Oh yeah.
I'm so sorry. Like he just
Yeah,
okay, just to distract us for a quick second. He said, "No way, Bastion is losing." Captain Back.
like, exactly. It was purely fantasy.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So, oh my gosh. So that's funny. Am I freezing on your screen, or is it just me? Just
You are yes, you are very
choppy.
frozen. Yeah,
Awesome. Fun, 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 fun. So
yeah,
we're just gonna keep moving along, and I'm
yeah.
gonna
What
give you
would a live broadcast be without someone
yeah,
breathing?
there's always gonna be something going on. So while I'm trying to fix that, you said something about the what if situation. So
Mhm.
like talk a little bit about what you're seeing in those.
The zombie situation from What If, which was one of my favorite What If episodes. I loved the zombie episode because it's like, yeah, what would we do if all the Avengers were zombies?
That was
We'd
a
all-
crazy episode, and it was a dope
yeah,
episode.
yeah, it's like we'd all die.
Yeah, yeah, it would be over. Like
Yeah.
What do you do when quote unquote the world's hope, and we know like we're once again
Yeah.
the world is now like the world's nightmare, you know?
Yes.
I don't know. What do you do
Yeah.
in that case?
So yeah, I was just like, wow, I loved it. And I think when the What If series came out, you could kind of see that they would possibly do something with that. And I'm just glad that they did because yeah, that was just one of the things that blew my face off. Oh man. And then what else? I mean, there's so many things. The do we want to talk about the big thing?
Um, wait, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Sorry, I'm literally trying to switch browsers and everything as we go, and not on here twice. Look at that. That's not crazy.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and then I'm gonna leave over here, and look,
There.
we're all good.
Okay.
I think.
You have a tinge of a echo.
An echo. Yep,
Mhm.
that sounds about right. So let me hear
It's a
you.
tinge.
Yeah, no, it's not great though. So let me do that because I'm trying not to completely leave because that's where I have all the other videos queued.
Okay.
So, anyways, let's see if I can do that. Will that fix it? No, and it looks like my other camera is shaky as well, right?
Yeah.
Fun
Maybe it's an
time.
internet thing.
Gosh. What would it be if there weren't issues? Well, let's try to keep this going, Jario. So
Yeah.
you were talking about the what if stuff. So let's keep going. So also what if related, we had Evil Doctor Strange, right?
Yes.
So that was a really twisted episode actually, where
Yeah.
they went into this whole other world of Doctor Strange and him trying to fix the wrongs in his situation.
Yeah. It was kind of like how when kind of in the movie Doctor Strange, when he was battling, I think Dormammu, and he just kept going back and back and doing it over and over again. But this was like on a much different, larger scale. He just could not accept that, you know, Christine was going to die. And so he just kept trying to change things and he just made it so bad.
Yeah, yeah. It's like I mean, as we think about just our life in general, right? Um,
Hmm.
and this is where I get spiritual for a moment, just as you said that. Like, it sounds a lot of like when we try to fix things in our own strength and like
Hmm.
the flesh, and like the flesh just begets the flesh, and death
Yes,
begets death, and like yeah, that is it's you can't resolve the problem of sin with more sin, right?
exactly.
And like
Exactly.
that's on a a very different scale. Like that's kind of what
Yeah.
we're seeing there in that storyline. So that was really cool that they're bringing you know that's clearly an allusion to that evil Doctor Strange from that world, and he's like, yeah, things got out of hand. Yep.
Yes. Yes, they certainly did.
And then we had all sorts of things that were um, rumored, and potential people. Well, I mean, okay, we had some things that weren't just rumored. Okay, so we had the Ultron bots show up there. I think those are like
Oh,
Ultron. And like, I
I
mean, that guy
know.
over there on the far right. I mean, look at him, man. He
Oh,
looks
yeah,
pissed
he's
off.
definitely Ultron
That's
looking.
Ultron. So I don't know what that's all about. But then they're leading him into what they're calling the Illuminati,
Yeah.
this gathering where there's somebody there, at least one person there. And I think that room, all the people that are sitting at that table is where we're gonna get like blown away by all the
Yeah.
different characters that are gonna show up there.
Oh,
But there's one that they gave us. They didn't show us, but they gave us enough. Here, let's look at this.
yes.
We should tell him the truth.
Y'all, that voice. Y'all know that voice? Come on. If you've been watching any of the the X-Men movies over the years, you know that
Yes.
voice as none other than Charles Xavier, Professor X, Patrick
Oh,
Stewart.
yes.
Ever since Disney bought Fox and got all of the rights to all of the X-Men, this is like the moment we've been waiting for, the
Yes.
beginning of the merging of the X-Men universe into the Marvel universe.
Yeah. It's gonna be so epic.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's gonna blow the first 10 years away. We won't even speak of those times.
We'll see if it gets that far. I don't know. This movie following Spider-Man, though, like that's a serious 1-2 punch.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and I think it's because of this multiverse situation
Mhm.
making it where anything's possible.
Yes.
And one of those anythings that's being rumored is that we might have an appearance of some really bizarre, version of
Yeah.
Iron Man, like Tom Cruise. I think there's a love-hate reaction from fans right now.
Yes,
with
for
that rumor.
sure. I'd be fine with it if we're doing it for pure comedy, but I don't want to see it long term.
Yeah, like I think for a moment, it's like,
Yeah.
hey, what's going
Yeah.
on? And bye.
Yeah. Never show your face in the Marvel universe again.
But another one that's being rumored that has been tossed around is the part of that introduction of that new wing of characters of Fantastic Four now coming over to the Marvel world, and they're talking about John Krasinski. More people famously know him as Jim, from The Office, as Mr. Fantastic. I think he'd play that well. I don't know if they're gonna take another swing at the Fantastic Four, really.
Yeah, it's like, how many times are we gonna do this thing?
Yeah, and it hasn't been that long since the last one,
No.
So we'll
So
see.
hopefully, yeah.
It feels kind of like the opposite of the Midas touch. Like if you touch Fantastic Four, it's gonna be a bomb.
Exactly. Like, so let's not even include that.
But then you got another one that might tie into that Iron Man rumor, but this one. So when you see it in the trailer, you just see the character like flying through there. Some people were saying Human Torch, but then when you were freeze framing it, it's like, wait a minute, that kind of looks like an African American character even.
Yeah.
Like, is that like Captain Marvel, but like Monica Rambeau's mama? I think
that's what I was thinking. Maria.
Yeah, like, maybe.
Yeah.
Or some people were even saying Superior Iron Man, which is coming from the comic books, that looks more like this and that can do all that sort of stuff.
Okay. Whatever it is,
think,
it's exciting.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's going to be more towards Captain Marvel because there's the understanding that there is a show coming that is going to actually have a new version of one of the Marvel, like, because there's like levels of them or different characters coming.
Yeah.
And there's also a character, I didn't tell you about this one. There was also a character that they gave you a quick snapshot just from the back.
I didn't even catch that nugget.
I watched it again this morning and I was like, wait a minute. Because when I saw that star, my first thought was, oh, is Captain America in this? But then when I froze it, I was like, wait a minute.
That's a lady.
I think that's Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel, that they are bringing into this show, like kind of teasing out her show that's supposed to be releasing, Miss Marvel, that's supposed to be releasing later on this year. So,
wow.
That's what I think. Okay. I don't know. Who really knows?
Whatever it is, it's going to be great.
Yeah. I mean, I believe it. I believe it.
Yeah. I'm so excited.
I have no predictions. I have no, thoughts about what's going to be. I just know it's going to be dope.
Yeah, pretty much.
So that is dope. What are you guys out there thinking about it? If you've seen the trailer or if you're a Marvel fan, we'd love to hear your comments. If you're watching live right now, feel free to drop those comments in the chat as well. But let's go ahead and move on to one of my favorite segments since we brought it last time. We're calling it Tik Tok Tea Time. Hopefully we'll get my my video going good again. I'm back to being choppy, but that's okay. I think as long as you can hear me well.
Yeah, you're coming in clear.
Am I coming in clear? Okay, so we are looking at now some of our favorite TikToks, and as we said the last time, this isn't any sort of support or, commentary on TikTok itself, but some of the content that we see coming through, sometimes it's going to be through actual TikTok. Sometimes it'll be an Instagram reel, but things where we're looking at these short, funny, or inspiring little snippets that people are sharing on their different platforms there. So the first one, let's see, we'll share one that you sent. I think says something about felt animation. Is that a thing?
Yes.
You want to
I
cue that up
think
at all?
last time I shared like a mini kitchen, and this is like someone who animates felt in a miniature way. I'm obsessed with miniatures.
Yeah, you are. You're into the little things.
Yes.
Well, let's go ahead and check this out real quick. I haven't
Okay.
seen this yet. It's like Gumby.
Yeah, it's so cool.
That was cool.
Right? I'm
I
like,
don't want to watch it again.
watch them all. They're so great. It's a felt
All made
butter.
out of felt?
Yeah.
Is it the same people that do the cooking, or is it?
No, this is totally different.
That's cool.
Right?
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Man, how do they? I
How?
don't know. Like, come
How
up
is
with
she
these
pulling
things?
this off?
Goodness
Talent.
gracious. All right, and for mine, so we're gonna have a few of these each. But the first one I'm gonna share is another quick one that was pretty funny, and it regards an old comic book / cartoon character, Popeye the Sailor Man. So if you know anything about Popeye the Sailor Man, that prior knowledge will be helpful in your enjoyment of this quick little video. This is coming from actually, I think it's Family Feud.
Oh, okay.
Where they have, the what's the number one answer for this question?
Yeah.
And you have to buzz in. So let's check this out.
Popeye's favorite food.
Chicken! Oh my god!
Show me chicken.
There's only one answer.
Spinach,
I love that.
Jerry.
There's only one answer.
Show me
I just love that because she was so sure that she had
You're
that.
so sure.
Chicken and just dancing.
Like, oh no.
No, not chicken. Sorry, sweetheart.
Oh wow.
Definitely not chicken.
Definitely.
Sorry, guys. I'm still trying to work on my my lagginess here in the situation.
No, it's all good.
But hey, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep trying to multitask and get that.
Yes.
But the next one we got is another one of yours, Jariel. I think you labeled it "Working from Home." You want to cue that up a little bit?
Yeah, it's like how how comfortable people are working from home now. And then when somebody asks to see you on camera, how you have to like hurry up and get your whole life together.
Oh, because they're like just not feeling comfy, or I'm sorry, they're not feeling like visually ready.
Yeah, they're not camera ready.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's check this out.
Morning, team. How are you all this morning? Before we get started, I'm going to ask you all to turn your cameras on. That's going to be a requirement. I can't wait to see all your smiling faces. I know you're glad to be here this morning. Good morning, everyone.
That is quality. That is quality.
Oh man.
So do you do a whole lot of live streaming and anything like that where that's ever happened to you?
Well, I don't do usually for my Zoom meetings, I'm more prepared, like, oh, they're gonna want to see me. But sometimes it's like you just never know. So I'm always prepared because you just never know someone's gonna be like, oh, let me see your face. It's like, oh, I don't know if you can see this. Depending on the time of day, you might not want to see the space.
Like, I don't know if you're ready for this. I don't know if you're ready. and like, what's going on with the hair situation right now?
Yeah, exactly. But I like that because it's like with work, yeah, you always have to be prepared, and she was ready to get ready.
That's quality. Okay, so my next one was one that I just was blown away by when I saw it, and I'd heard about it, but I hadn't really seen anything about it. So I just came back from Disney, at the end of Christmas time or whatever, and we spent a lot of time in the Star Wars kind of world that they had there. I can't remember what it was even called right now.
Yeah,
Galaxy's Edge. So
okay.
So then when I was coming back, I was hearing that they were creating an entire resort that's built to look like the Star Wars world.
Yeah.
And I heard that it's actually like a spaceship, like a Star Wars cruiser or something like that you.
Oh, wow. That's going to be cool.
So this is a TikTok where someone's showing what it looks like. And I think they're like either open or getting ready to be having their grand opening. And after watching this, I want to hear how much you think it costs to stay there.
Okay.
I'll say how much it costs for it's. They give you the price for 2 nights, for 2 adults and 1 child. So here we go.
Okay.
Welcome aboard the Halcyon.
Wow, this is amazing. That's the most amazing thing I've seen. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's like mind blowing, right? It's like, are you serious? This is a real thing now? Like it looks like you're in a movie set.
Oh my goodness, that looked so fun.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would take my children because I want to like nerd out.
Oh, wait a minute. Before we move too far, Jonathan just said about the Popeye video. I'm just not seeing this. He said, I thought the answer was chicken too.
Okay, I get it now. I get it. Maybe that's what she thought too.
Well, I get where it comes from, Popeye's chicken, but it's like,
oh man, that's hilarious.
So okay, so the Star Wars thing, how much do you think something like that would cost you?
Okay, per night or entire?
So it's the price they gave is for 2 nights.
Okay.
For 2 adults and 1 child.
I'm gonna say that's probably about 10 to 12 grand right there.
Ooh, man, you got expensive taste. Because I was like, don't you ever try to charge me anything. So it's actually $5,299.
Wow. I thought it would be more than that.
See, and I'm over here like, y'all crazy.
I still think that is a crazy price, but I thought they would really be taxing for that.
Right.
That's high level stuff right there. Well, 2 nights. Yeah, that's 2,500. Yeah, that's honestly 4 vacations right now.
Yeah.
That's 4 family vacations for a 2-night stay.
That's a lot. That's serious business.
Yeah. So I guess I won't be going there, but where is it?
I mean, that's in Disney. That's at Disney World. It's like a resort at Disney. I'm almost positive. See, now you got me questioning, but I'm almost positive that's what it is. It's a resort at Disney World.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So then the next one is, let's see, we've got now. Okay, now both of our last ones were inspirational ones. I love how this worked out.
Yeah.
So I got an inspirational one from, it says Vic Blends. Do you need to say it?
Yeah.
Or?
He's a guy that gives people on the street haircuts. He'll just stop someone and ask them
Oh, I've seen
if
him.
they want a haircut, and then he just talks to them, and he just talks to this little boy, and I just love the little boy's, story, and I just honestly I just love hearing all the stories from the people whose hair he cuts. It's just awesome.
All right, well, let's check out this one from Vic Blends.
Hey, yo, my name is Vic, man. Pleasure to meet you. Oh, shoot, man, I'm a barber. Man, I was wondering if I could get your man's a haircut.
This man think he growing out his hair, man. You want a haircut, brother?
Oh, I know.
What you want? Whatever you want.
Don't take nothing off the top.
You growing it out?
Yeah, I'm trying to grow it out.
Well, shoot, man, if you want a free cut, let's get it.
You want to line up?
Yeah.
All right, bet, let's do it. What is your name and what do you want to be when you grow up?
I don't really know what I want to be when I grow up, but my name is Braylon.
What do you like to do?
I like to play the piano sometimes. So what made you start giving free haircuts?
Man, I really wanted to inspire other people. I used to cut hair just to make money, and that was my only thing I did. But I didn't think that was a way that I wanted to be remembered. And I wanted to be remembered as somebody that can impact my community, inspire people across the world.
Like when I got a lot of stuff in my mind, I just play the piano. Because,
And that's your escape?
Yeah, it's something I can do, not be bothered.
You feel at peace when you play the piano?
Yeah.
What do you always have on your mind?
I just feel cluttered.
Do you talk to anybody about it?
I talk to my mom about it.
Got you,
like
man.
I just tell her like I feel cluttered, and then I just go sit down, drink some tea, and play the piano.
Make sure you always talk to somebody. Anytime you're going through something, tell your mom. You know, sometimes we just feel busy and we want somebody to talk to, and it's always good to speak. Don't ever feel like you by yourself with it.
These are your friends? They helped you start this?
Yeah, these are my friends. But yeah, they helped me start everything that I do now. You know, it's important that you keep it in your family. You want to eat with the ones that you starve with. That's very important to me.
I like how you put that. You want to eat with the ones that you starve with. I don't know. It's just like something I'm going to take to heart. You seem like the one to talk a lot.
You know, they told me that a closed mouth don't get fed, so I'm never scared to ask a question.
Sometimes I'm scared to ask questions, like embarrassed to the person I'm asking.
And there's no such thing as a bad question. Don't be scared to ask nobody nothing. Every shot you don't take, you miss it. So you might as well take the risk and see what can happen. What pushes you forward to chase your dream?
I don't really have a dream yet, but I think as I get older, it's going to come to me.
I didn't know I could do any of this. It was hard for me to believe it was possible.
So you actually tried it?
Until I tried it. And God will show you that you can do anything you want.
Even if you're not good at it first, you just got to get better.
Nobody was great the first time they tried. Get this, man, sometimes you gotta grow as a person. Don't let nobody make you feel bad for growing, right? You gotta do what's best for you and your family. You can't live for what other people want you to do.
You gotta live for who you wanna be.
Your friends should push you to be the best you, no matter what it takes. Your friends shouldn't hold you back from opportunity just because it benefits them.
So if one of your so-called friends is down, and then they want to keep you down with them, they're not a friend?
Friends should push you forward.
Nah, this is the best haircut I got in a minute.
Oh, thank you, man. You look good, man. You look good.
Yeah, you keep it going too.
Man, you keep it going too. I'm proud of you.
I hope I see you again though.
You will see me again, I promise you.
That is dope.
I
That
know.
is
I
super
just
dope.
love it. I love his videos. They're always just so good.
Yeah, I mean, it's like he's got like a little barber therapy session or motivational session. And I love the even the bib that he used that said passion over profit.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, he's just like he's giving street cuts and street knowledge. Like this is dope.
Thank you. Yes, and the haircuts are always so good.
Right,
On top of that.
Yes, like people like there's many people that can't, give you a good haircut.
No.
And then there's people that don't have their head on together right enough to give someone some real truth, like some actual things that they can use. But
Yeah.
he's doing both at the same time.
Yeah. And for free. It's so awesome.
Yeah, that is definitely dope. That is definitely dope.
Yeah.
All right, so my next one is actually it's the last one before we get on to the interview. It's another one, but it is a little bit shorter, and it is actually I don't even know who this person is. I don't even know what the account came from. but I saw it. Actually, was something that Larissa sends me. She sends
Okay.
me videos all the time, and it apparently touched her. So I was like, she just sent me this morning. So I was like, you know what? Last minute entry. Here we go.
Okay, cool.
It's on just raising children, you know. And
Okay.
let's see.
Be your kid's future. And he said to me, my grandfather walked 10 miles to work every day. My father walked 5. I'm driving a Cadillac. My son is in a Mercedes. He said my grandson will be in a Ferrari. But he said my great-grandson will be walking again. So I asked him, I said, well, why is that? And he said to me, tough times create strong men. Strong men create easy times. Easy times create weak men. Weak men create tough times. He said to me, many will not understand, but you have to raise warriors.
Ooh, that was really good. That was a word. I'm like, what?
That was deep and so true.
Oh, so true. So true.
And that's one of the things that I think that we are in the middle of as a culture, like recognizing, or hopefully recognizing, but definitely experiencing, because there's so many of us, and Larissa and I've had this conversation. I think that's probably why she sent it to me too, where we've talked about all the places wherein as a culture, as even like a people, we have progressed, right? And we look back and it's like, man, it was so tough on folks back then, and like, just trying to survive. And now we've got so many of the comforts of life, right? And now the truth is there's a weaker generation. I'm not trying to hate on the generation. I'm just saying the truth. As I look at my generation compared to my mother's generation, to my father's generation, honest to God, we are weaker.
Yeah.
We are. And as I look at the generation to come compared to our generation, I'm seeing there's a bit more of that. So like when now things get kind of turned upside down based on the types of children that we are raising. They're now going to be living in tough times, and we'll now need to learn, okay, we're going to rise up and we're going to face the issues and all that stuff.
Oh, that was so good.
Super dope stuff. And my camera apparently is really rebelling today, so y'all can see a lot of Jariel. See a lot of Jariel today. Let's go ahead and make our way to the main event of today, which is the interview with none other than Katina Horton. As I said on the front end of today's episode, Katina is a mutual friend of ours. She's been in church with us in past seasons, and in the current season, we're in a micro church together called the Kingdom Justice Project. And she's amazing. I think I did not realize until this conversation all of the different places wherein we really relate, and there's stuff we have in common. And I think in her story, a lot of people will find connection. And I want to let you guys know on the front end, and also see this in the description, you're going to, after watching this interview and definitely the end of this, you're going to want to find out more about her. You're going to want to read her books. You're going to want to follow her to a larger degree. And you can do that at the valleyofgrace.com, and we'll show you that again at the end of this. But I want to just set that all up to say get ready for a great testimonial of the way the Lord walked with her, and then she's going to tease out some of the I think the knowledge that she's gained as she now leans more and more into ministering to women who are dealing with toxic relationships. But guess what? It ain't just for women. So get ready to be blessed. Here we go. We have none other than a good friend of mine, Katina Horton. Katina is jack of all trades, probably master of many. She's a podcaster, she's an author, she's a poet. She does website stuff like you do. Like you got degrees in the IT realm. Like I want to apologize for my audio. You guys. In many ways, I see you as a minister to many women all over. Like What don't you do is a question that I might want to ask, but maybe that might be too hard to answer. Other than all that I said, what do you think are some other things that maybe I might have missed, or is there something that's more central to the core of who you are? If maybe you know your calling or your mission, just to give everybody a big overview.
Sure, you pretty much summed up everything. The only thing was brand and business strategist and course creator. Yeah, but everything else is pretty much what you said. I got like about literally a good 9 things that I do. Bible teacher, brand and business strategist. So we talk author, speaker, podcast host, coach, course creator, computer technician, and I do dance ministry. So I wear quite a few different hats. Yeah.
Didn't even know that. Well, wait, actually, I did kind of know that because I've seen you on TikTok and on Instagram Reels doing kind of like an interpretive dance of some of your message. So that makes sense. That's super dope. Super dope. And I mean, you're a mother of 2 and
2 young adult children. Yes.
Yeah. So that is awesome. So before we get into the heights of all that the Lord has you off doing these days, let's take it back and let's get into what I really look at as the core question. There's so many questions that we talk about in these podcast conversations, but the core question is all about the freedom story. It's the Freedom Stories podcast. So how would you describe, or how would you explain what your freedom story is?
Okay, I look at my freedom story as a story of reclamation of power and identity so that I would know that I'm enough. And I look at it as like a 2-part story. Yeah, I got a 2-part story going on. So if you want me to share with your audience, I can share parts of that story with you.
Let's get deep right now into part 1. Like, take us back to like before, like when you were in bondage, like what did that look like, and then coming to that place of layer 1 of freedom.
Right. So you want, because I can do a layer 1 and 2. It's not real long, but
we'll get to 2. We'll get to 2.
Okay. All right. So layer 1 of it is I was born and raised on the south side of Chicago. Okay. And we lived with my grandmother. We affectionately called her Mud Dia, and that was in the projects, Madden Park Homes.
Okay.
And so my parents and I lived with my grandmother and a couple of aunts and some cousins. We all piled up into this tiny 2-bedroom apartment, but we grew up and it was an environment of love and community, food, dancing, and music. Okay.
Okay.
Yes. And my grammar school was right there in the neighborhood, and right there within Madden Park Homes. Mm-hmm. And so, like, with the Jeffersons, they say moving on up to the east side, right? Yeah. Well, me and my parents, we moved on up further south, okay? And we were already on the south side, but further south, a little bit over east. And that move was with the intention of like opening up the doors to more possibilities,
Sure.
And opportunities, than just being in the projects. And even though there were some bad things that were going on in the projects, the particular one that I lived in, I did feel safe in there. Some people might have had stories where they went to projects and all these different things happened. And don't get me wrong, things did happen, but they were nowhere near like, believe it or not, like the things that you hear of going on today in Chicago. Those kind of things were not going on in the projects back then. Okay. And so, like I said, we moved to this apartment and we're thinking that this is like the move to get us to more freedom, so to speak, as far as different opportunities, whether it was for me for school or, my parents with their jobs and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But it actually became like the beginning of major trauma for me. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, major trauma. When we moved, I was 8 years old. Okay. So we lived with my grandmother until I was 8. We moved, I was 8 years old. And I was born to teenage parents. So my grandmother, she was a major influence in my upbringing. Okay. She was like a second mother, believe it or not. So we moved to our apartment, and at age 8, we got this other significant thing going on where a couple of my mom's co-workers invited us to go to church. And my mother kept saying, yeah, we're going to come. And, we'll get there, but it never happened.
Right.
And so you know how kids are. I just kept wearing my mother down. When are we?
So you wanted to go?
I wanted to go. It was something about the way that her friend described it. And she kept saying, I got 2 nieces that are there. And, one of them is Tina's age. And she was talking about the music and the fact that they had a children's church. And with the children's church, they had their own choir, and they had their own ushers and their own deacons and their own communion service. I mean, they had you know what I'm saying? So it's like the way the church was, because they had the big church, we called it.
Yeah,
back in the day. But the children's church was another separate building, but it was connected to the big church the way it was built, if that makes sense. Yeah. So it was like a hallway that basically looped both churches together, Yeah. And so, I wanted to go. And to show you how it was so like providence, I guess I would say, from the Lord, divine providence. That Sunday I went, I understood everything, and I accepted Jesus in my heart.
And you were 8
years old.
Wow.
8 years old. And so the following Sunday, my mother and I, we ended up getting baptized. It was Easter sunrise service. So at 8 years old, I began my Christian journey, right? But then from 8 to 11 in that tiny apartment for those 3 years, I unfortunately ended up witnessing a lot of physical abuse that went on, and I'd never seen that before because I was used to how it was at my grandmother's house. You see what I'm saying? I never saw that type of dynamic, that was going on in between my parents. And what
your grandmother's, that was in the projects?
My grandmother lived in the projects.
Okay, and now you're out with your mom and your dad,
right?
In not the suburbs, but further south.
Further south, like on we were at 80th and Ellis.
Okay.
Yeah, and believe it or not, at that time, during the time period that we lived in that apartment, it was an integrated neighborhood. And like maybe a good 4 years after that, then that's when I guess it was more like the flight away from that area, But at the time, there was an integrated neighborhood, because I remember thinking, and walking around as a little girl, a black little girl, and thinking oh, this is amazing. I actually see people of different nationalities also walking around the neighborhood. As a kid, you just try to make sense of everything.
Yeah, it feels like a whole new world to you now than what you
Right. It was a different world, because the projects I grew up in, it was predominantly Black. The school that I grew up in, that I went to, was predominantly Black. And even though we moved from my grandmother's house to that apartment, I still continued to go to the school in the projects, if that makes sense, because my mother's job was close to where my grandmother lived, and she figured it'd be better. Anything happens and she needs to get to me fast, that I just keep continuing to attend the school in my grandmother's neighborhood.
And I'm sure you probably like that, because all your friends and everybody you knew was still there.
Yes. So even though I met new friends at the apartment, and became really close with them, and like I said, it was integrated at the time, but I still had my friends in the projects I hung out with, and the friends at school that I hung out with. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And so, like I said, I began to see a lot of abuse and everything in my home. And one day my mother and I came home, just like any old, you had, your routine. We just came home, put the keys in the door and opened the door, and the apartment was almost completely cleaned out.
Oh, man.
Right. So to stand there and as an 11-year-old girl to process, wow, we both just kind of froze. We just kind of stood there and looked like, what happened? you know, and my mother's like her quick thing that she said, well, I guess your dad is left, you know, and I really didn't know like how to put that in words. Okay.
Yeah. Like, what does that mean? When's he coming back?
Right. Yeah. I was just like, whoa. And I knew that all of this stuff had been going on. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that probably needed to happen, but not the way that it happened. Sure. You understand what I'm saying? Like some things,
like they weren't healthy. It wasn't a healthy relationship.
It wasn't healthy the way it happened. Right. Right. It wasn't healthy. So 3 different things happened. Well, one thing is that before he left at age 9, I had started competing in spelling bees. Okay. For some reason, I had a love for vocabulary, a love for words, and just language in general, right? Mm-hmm. Different languages, which started with the English language, just dissecting words. Okay. So I started with the spelling bee at 9. Then at 10, I was in 4th grade. I started with oratorical competitions. Okay. That's how I first started speaking. And I got introduced to literature. And then even more, it opened up the world of Black literature and Black poetry. You know, like I said, all kind of literature. So from starting at age 9 all the way through the entire grammar school was spelling bee, and started at age 10, the entirety of it was oratorical competitions, right? So that started before my dad left, right? Okay. So after he left, it set up in me this thing of not enoughness, like that abandonment. Yeah. That abandonment is set up like abandonment in me. And my trauma response, the way it came out, was perfectionism, but the root of it was not enoughness, if that makes sense.
Katina, everything that you're saying right now sounds so reminiscent of so much of my story, and in language that isn't exactly what I would characterize, but so much of like growing up in the city and then moving further south with the thought of a better life, and then shortly after that, the implosion of the family life, and finding the Lord to a degree as a young, like there's so much that you're describing. And when you said that bit about that not enoughness, and then your coping mechanism, your trauma response being perfectionism.
Yes,
like, man, because I walked around with that burden in my heart of like feeling like I need to do more, I need to be more in order to earn that love and to prove and to feel like I like, because you know there's this silent thing that happens when that type of abandonment happens to a child, is they're thinking that if I was more, they wouldn't have left, right?
Yeah.
So that my father left when my parents got divorced when I was 8. So like I'm vibing with you, but this isn't my time.
Okay, right.
Continue on. So you were you're 11,
right? So I'm 11.
You're doing so before that you were into poetry and all that sort of stuff, and then
I'm all into all of that.
Yeah,
and so like you said, I'm 11, and mind you, the school librarian is she's serving 3 purposes from me. She's a mentor, a spelling bee coach, and an oratory coach, all the way through grammar school.
Mm-hmm.
This is the school librarian, okay? And so I went from seeing my dad every day, and then once he left, from every few years. So that was a major shift too. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You seeing your parents, having a relationship with them from every day to every few years. And when I would see him and we talk about the different competitions I was in, because I was excited about it. And then, I remember particularly, he said, baby, you put Donahue School on the map. And mind you, Donahue is the name of the grammar school I attended.
Mm-hmm.
And me being a child, some kind of way in my head, it set me up for performance. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because remember, I wasn't enough. I was wearing it on my sleeves. You know what I'm saying? I had the banner on me, and I had a backpack. I like to think of it as covering that up on top of it, saying perfectionism all across my backpack. So when he said this, in my mind, it was like, oh, well, performing is what to get that approval. You see what I'm saying? And so, yeah, it went from not just like with him, but in everything I did academically, yeah, the rest of grammar school, then you got high school, and then you got college. So all the way through, I'm walking around with this "I'm not enough" banner on me, okay? And it was affecting even the decisions that I made. They all came from the perfectionism, like I said, which the root cause of that is not being enough. And so I ended up getting married 4 years after graduating from high school. Okay. No, 3 years after graduating high school.
So it's pretty young.
Yeah, I was young. I got married at 21. Okay. And so
I apologize. So you're at 21 already. Can you real quick, briefly summarize what your spiritual life was like from 8 to 21? Because you said that you gave your life to the Lord at 8, but as an 8-year-old through a 21-year-old, what did that spiritual journey even look like for you?
Oh my word. Even though I walked around in this state of not enoughness, okay? And not going from that place of grounding, of having that identity in Christ. So even though I was walking around like that, the Holy Spirit was moving with me. It started at a very young age because I was in Sunday school classes at church. I got very active in the church that I grew up in. It was a Baptist church. And I was there all the way up until I got married, believe it or not. Very active in the Sunday schools, very active.
That's the same church that you got saved in, right?
Same church I got saved in. Every year, Sunday school. And then we had what we call, I don't know if you've ever heard of Baptist Training Union. That was in the evenings at the church. They had a missionary society. And they even, when you think of missionary society, you think of like the older women who are kind of also like mothers of the church. Right. So in this particular church I went to, they actually had started missionary societies for the children, for the young ladies. Right. So they had like what they called the junior red circle, the intermediate red circle, and the senior red circle. You see what I'm saying? So I was able to do that all the while I was there at Fellowship Church. And during that
was
time,
kind of like that was like some sort of biblical training, or what was that?
Yeah, it was training for, like, in case you wanted to do the work of the older missionary ladies, you could, so it's like training. We also had mentors for each of those 3 different levels. They took time out with us. We went on, and this is like some good opportunities I got through being in the missionary society. We would go to Baptist training conventions and be able to participate. We ended up being selected as a delegate and went on these training conventions. And we just got a chance to do a lot of activities that were involving the kingdom of God. But this was at a young age. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But we did a lot of traveling through coach buses. It wasn't no airplane or this, that, and the other. It was a lot of traveling on coach buses, to different towns and whatnot, out of town, as well as like a few places in Illinois with the missionary society. Me and this one young lady at the church, we were best friends at the time, and we would always go on these particular trips together with the missionary society. And then along with that, our church would often go over to other churches to serve once the regular service was over. So we would end up being in church, like from Sunday school to the end of the church service. That might have been literally, like, I kid you not, that could be like a 5.5 hour process.
I believe it. I believe it.
I kid you not.
I believe it. Like so my wife, Larissa was shocked when we started going to church.
Yeah, I went to church in Tammy. It was at least 5 hours.
And so you would go there early Sunday morning, because I was teaching Sunday school like after I'd gotten reacclimated to life with Christ. So I started teaching Sunday school, and then we would stay after and do, different classes and coffee hour. And so it would be a long day, and we were driving from here to there. And so then when we made that transition to going to church up here, she's like, "Oh, it's done already? Like it's over?"
Right. It's nothing like out there in the city. Out here, yes. She couldn't believe it, I bet.
Right. She was like, wow, okay.
Oh, my word. Yes. Yeah, I know what she meant, because like I said, it was a 5-hour thing. And then we would go to another church and serve. The pastor,
Oh, wow.
Reverend Evans, he would speak at another church, and the choir would sing. And then it was the Baptist Training Union. And then after that, it was Vesper hour. And then after that, we would get ready because the church was getting ready to go on the air for broadcast.
Wow.
And so sometimes, I kid you not, sometimes we were at church for 12 hours. When you talk about the book of Acts, we took it to a whole nother level. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And so you were experiencing that kind of rhythm of church and spiritual life all the way through getting married?
All the way through till I got married. That was my life. Like several Sundays, it was very rare when we didn't have to go to another church. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. They even had food down in the kitchen that you could buy yourself a dinner, sit there, eat, chat, fellowship with other Christians, and then it's time to go over to the visiting church. That's what we called it whenever we went over to another church. Yeah. So 12 hours of the book of Acts. And then another thing that was important for me, I was asked by a former Sunday school teacher. I probably was maybe 17, if I would be the youth announcing clerk. Okay. Somewhere between 16, 17, she asked me about being the clerk. And it was an exciting opportunity. I was used to speaking because I'd done it all throughout grammar school, right? Mm-hmm. But when she asked me, I was kind of taken aback, but at the same time, I was hesitant, and it's like, okay, because it's like when you think about like John the Baptist, how he had on, he ate the wild locusts and honey, and how he was dressed, and, you got this belt and all these animal skins. So it's like, in a sense, I felt out of place because we were poor, right?
Yeah.
And because of the fact that we were poor and I did not have the right attire, unless it was like special occasions for me to get up there. But I felt like I didn't have the right attire. And what it was too, for this calling, I looked at everybody else that was doing it, because I was the youth clerk, right? Then we had a young adult clerk. We had, I forgot what they called the one that was in the middle. And then they had a senior clerk, but I was the youth clerk. So I looked at how everybody else were, dressed to the nine, from the top of their head all the way down to the shoes and everything. And it's like, you know what I'm saying? I had my idea in my head of how calling should look.
Yeah.
God didn't care about any of that. He wanted my voice. He wanted me to use what it is he had given me. You know what I'm saying? And not even to focus on all of that. Because I think if I'd had all of that, I might have gotten caught up and not been able to do what he wanted me to do.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm saying? So part of being an announcing clerk, part of that responsibility was not just to give the announcements from the bulletin, but to give a little quick scripture and tie that in so that the people who were there visiting might want to accept Jesus.
Right.
And it's funny, as I look back, I laugh. Even like a couple months ago, I had to laugh with my mom. I said, I guess I took my responsibility to a whole nother level. She said, yeah, Tina, you gave more like a sermonette.
I believe it. You like to talk, and you got a good grasp of the word, and like you said, perfectionism, right?
Right.
So, I'm against this truth.
Right. And it's like I could see, even doing it then, it's like I could feel the Holy Spirit moving through what I was doing. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah. I could see the Holy Spirit just moving just straight on through that. And I was there at fellowship up until I was 21. Oh, the other thing that I did while I was there too, that I forgot to mention, for several years, I was president of the youth usher board. So me and my mother, we were both presidents at the same time. She was president of the young adult usher board. I was president of the youth usher board. So that's another way that that was very important as far as me serving the Lord, you know, at that time. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so you were, before I sidetracked you to go back and walk us through your church experience, you were starting to tell us about I think the beginnings of layer 2 with your story with marriage, and so you're what, 21? You got married?
21. Yes.
All right,
I got married at 21 years old. I got married, you know, and I knew exactly what it was I was doing when I got married. Or some people, they look back and they might say, well, I was too young and that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I knew exactly what I was doing, and my intentions were to have a marriage that was based upon having Christ as the center, you know?
Amen. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was so focused, you know, on that. Even at the wedding, I had one of my former Sunday school teachers to sing "Jesus, You're the Center of My Joy."
I love that song.
So it was very intentional on my part.
I found that song late in life, but fell in love with it as soon as I heard it.
And but prior to getting married, there were some red flags that came up. Now, mind you, like I said, I was 21, so that's young, right?
Right.
Even though I was young and in love, so to speak, there were some red flags that came up, even as a teenager, because I started dating at 18. And
you started dating him at 18?
At 18. Okay. We were friends starting at like 16.
Oh, wow. So you knew him for a while. Yeah.
Well, I take it back. We became friends when I was 17. We knew of each other and took classes together starting at age either 15 or 16.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. Like he was a classmate and acquaintance for a while, and then y'all actually became friends at 17.
We actually became friends and didn't start dating until a month before we went on prom. We both were without a prom date, and you know, we ended up dating then, but we both had like a brother-sister type of relationship, and there were maybe like a good 12 to 14 of us, like between guys and girls, that hung out in the lunchroom and during study hall time. That was a group of us. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And ironically, a lot of people in the group started dating.
Hey, y'all were a crew. Y'all knew each other well.
Right, we were a crew.
You looked around, everybody else, you're like, I don't know what these fools about, but I know what you about. Come on, let's date.
Right. So that's what ended up happening, right? This big crew of us that just kind of had like a brother or sister relationship, like a little family there at the high school. That's what ended up being the end result of that. And like I said, I got married at 21. However, there were red flags even before I got married. But remember now, I'm walking around with this banner that's saying that I'm not enough, right?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so what am I doing? I'm ignoring it. Oh, you know, he's handsome. And, you know, you start, you know, the devil starts working on, you know, because I had very low self-esteem, very low self-worth, remember? And I'm not riding off of this identity in Christ, right? I'm riding off of my brokenness of not enoughness. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I ignore some of the obvious signs. So one of the obvious signs is what they call love bombing. I don't know if you've ever heard of that term before.
So here's where she starts to get into
so
some of the terminology.
A person is really love bombed.
Yeah.
I will describe it as a combination of being swept off your feet like a fairy tale and like being in a spell, literally spell / trance, extreme euphoria, shower with attention, and you become that person's trophy. It's like you're that person's idol. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it all sounded lovely and good until you got to that last description.
Right. It sounds good, don't it? Poetry, songs. You know what I'm saying? And like, you know, you're put on this pedestal. You're this person's like I said, their trophy, their idol, so to speak.
Yeah.
But what happens, even though it's feeling good, something about it is off because there's this type of energy that goes along with it, if that makes sense. Like the energy leaves you with feeling like this feels real good, but almost too good to be true. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. You're like, wait, you're like, okay, there's a catch. Like
right. It's a catch.
Something
Right.
I'm missing. Yeah.
Right. And then at the ending of the love bombing phase, you're left with a sense of shame. So this person is worshiping and doing all these things. It kind of feels good because you caught up in this euphoria, the spell, but at the same time, something feels off. And like it's too good to be true. You see what I'm saying? Like with all like it's too much. Even though you would think that it would be a good thing, right? And so like I said, I had some red flags in that love bombing phase that I ignored. I just blatantly ignored because it's like, oh, I'm in love. You know, he's handsome. I'm not enough, you know, and you know, I don't, you know, I'm not beautiful, all of this type of, I'm just this whole dialogue that Satan had playing in my head. So I ignored all of that. You know what I'm saying? Just totally ignored it. So I had that going on and was still going to school. And because of that not enoughness, I made decisions for my major, for college even, off of what I thought, and this is where the perfectionism kicked in, what I thought that the teachers from my grammar school, my mom, and what I thought like other adults would expect of a person who's smart. What type of major they would expect you to pick. See what I'm saying?
Wow. Yeah, wow. Yeah.
I started off in pre-med, and then it ended up being God's divine providence that I ended up switching over to IT. And it was simply because of a lack of me being able to get the classes I needed at the same time that I needed. That's the only thing that made me stop and say, wait a minute, I got to reassess everything now because I had to work full time. You see what I'm saying? But like college, you know, those things I did, like I said, I was riding off of not enoughness. In this relationship, I'm not riding off of not enoughness. The love bombing probably lasted maybe a little bit from the dating phase, maybe till a little bit after being married. And
so wait, you guys got married while you were in college or right after?
In college. Yeah, in college. Okay. And because of the fact that I had to work full time, what could have been done in 4 years ended up turning into 8 years, which was a combination of me having to work full time, right? And the odd times they were offering the classes that I need, because remember, I started off as pre-med, right? Right. So a combination of that, and then a combination of like, once I figured out, like, I can't stand this pre-med, I don't like blood. We were working with cadavers. I'm just like, what am I doing? So
That's funny being in pre-med and not
liking
blood.
Led me to like be done in 8 years.
Sure, yeah, you probably had to take some classes that you would have taken before, but you were in the pre-med classes. And
I was in the pre-med classes, right? I was in the pre-med classes. Yep.
Gotcha.
So it was an 8-year process. And so like I said, it was an 8-year process. So by the time I finished, literally, just to give a timeline, like I graduated from Robert Morris, because that's why I ended up, once I switched schools for IT, and got the bachelor's in business administration. When I graduated with my bachelor's, my son was 9 months old. So just to give you a timeline, you see what I'm saying? Yeah, he was 9 months old. So, like I said, with the love, when we were in the love bombing stage, that ended, and the devaluing stage began. And so
when you say devaluing stage, you mean like he began to devalue you.
Right.
Okay.
When you're in the devaluing stage, you are devalued, and everything and anything that's important to you is devalued. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
So I entered that phase, and that lasted for years. And I mean years. And some of the things that are used when you're in the devaluing stage is like gaslighting, belittling. Then it's something they call breadcrumbing and stonewalling. And stonewalling is the equivalent of like an extreme sense of silent treatment to gain power.
Okay, what's breadcrumbing? What's that?
And breadcrumbing, that's when they used to call it the mean and sweet cycles of abuse.
Like I was like,
so like, abuse becomes your norm, no matter what kind of abuse it is that's going on with you. That becomes your norm. And like I said, they used to call it the mean and sweet cycle. So the sweet cycles would have been, okay, here's something to, I know I'm treating you bad, I'm mistreating you, but here's something so you can forget about it. But now they call it breadcrumbing. So what I would describe it as, when you think about, I always use the example, if you're cleaning the house, you want to get a project done, right? You got a baby or a toddler just whining about something they want. Well, you know the pacifier, they want to eat, but you know, you give them a pacifier, you know the pacifier is not going to take the place of food.
Right, right.
So breadcrumbing is, I know I'm mistreating you, here's a pacifier, which is something that you're getting. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To make you forget, it's supposed to make you forget about all of the mistreatment you're getting.
So I've seen that show. I've never heard that phrase before, but I've seen that show up in regards to like, situations where women are in physical abuse, and there's that happening, and then there's the days of apology and flowers and gifts, and tries to get them to forget, and then back to the abuse again, and so yeah, I now understand. So that's breadcrumbing.
That's breadcrumbing. Yep, I know that I'm doing this, and then in between, here's something so you can forget about it. So it could be trips, it could be dinner, it could be a chocolate candy bar, it could be a muffin. You see what I'm saying? And it don't matter what type of abuse it is, breadcrumbing is involved. Like I said, they used to as mean and sweet cycles.
Okay, I'm sorry. So are you describing this now more of the big picture understanding of some of the abusive cycles, or were these actually things that you were experiencing and you're just using your experience to walk us through those?
This is actually both.
Okay.
This is both what I was experiencing, and this is the abuse cycle.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. There's an idealized phase where you're love bombed. Then there's a devalue stage, okay, with the gaslighting, breadcrumbing, all of that. And then the final phase is the discard.
Now, was the majority, stop me or redirect the answer if I'm going too personal. Is the majority of the devaluing stage that you experienced, was that mostly from a psychological standpoint and verbal and that sort of thing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. It was more of the belittling, this, they call it a fog, fear, obligation, and guilt, and playing games. And you know how in the Bible you got Samson and Delilah, and Delilah says, tell me. Every time she said, tell me, right? Right. And so she played that game with Samson. So in toxic relationships, there's a game that's played. And with the women, it's if you could just, okay? And so it's like, okay, so if you could just change your hair. Because when you're in a devalue stage of any toxic relationship, you just want to go back to the beginning. Although you know that something doesn't feel quite right with the love bombing, anything than what you're in. Does that make sense? You see what I mean?
You want to get back to when things were good,
Right. You want to get back to when things were good. So that's when it began, that if you could just and then you get this list of things that they say that you would do and you can get back there. But after doing so many, all of a sudden you realize no, we're never getting back there. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We're never getting back to that phase. But like I said, mine was pretty much psychological, you know? Yeah. And you get, when you are dealing with that on a daily basis, what happens is you start to experience what they call cognitive dissonance, because you get to the point where your values do not line up to the life that you're living. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The life that God has created you to live, but you end up on this, what I call a hamster wheel. You're on the hamster wheel, right? And you're hustling on this wheel with that if you could just game. You're hustling for your self-worth and approval.
Yeah.
So you're trying to fulfill your not enoughness. You're trying to get that, for him to approve of you in that, you know, and to make you feel like you're enough. And because of that other person's brokenness, they're trying everything in their power to keep you in the state of that, and even lower if they can, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Is that what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because they're preying on that vulnerability that you have, where you're hungry for this approval, and they're like, ooh, okay, and so now they're just going to take advantage of that more and more. Yeah,
right. Have you hustling, literally hustling for your self-worth? Yeah.
Y'all, there's so much more gold that she goes into. There's probably another good 25 to 30 minutes of this interview that we're not going to show you today, but it was so good. And y'all, I didn't know I needed to take notes, so I was scrambling for a piece of paper as we were talking in the interview. Y'all don't see me. I tried to like play it off, but I was scrambling for a piece of paper. And she started trying to take notes. I was like, it's like, oh, this acronym and fog and like, you know, she gets into more stuff, you guys. But let's break down what we've heard, and we'll kind of tease out what's to come, and I'll give you guys some thoughts on where you can find out more from her, and some of the books that she personally recommended that you guys might want to read that she's written. So before I even get into one by one, like Jario, having heard, I think you might have heard the full version of that.
Yeah.
What was your reaction? What are your first thoughts on that?
Well, I love Katina. I love that one, she's a woman in tech, and she has so much knowledge on so many different things. But what I love most about her is that she has literally done the work of, you know, just healing her past trauma, and she's like all about educating others, you know. And I didn't realize how many similarities we have. I was literally, this might be TMI, but
no, do it.
In my therapy discussion this week with my therapist, she was just saying how I am like a perfectionist. Like I am always seeking to just, and she's like, we've got to figure out where that comes from. I'm like, man, it has to be childhood. Like Katina, I'm like, yeah, let's go back there. So it was just like, wow, just, I think there's some things that you take into adulthood and you don't really figure out where they come from unless you do that work. And it's just great to see her do that and just, you know, walk in her freedom, you know, with Christ and just in her life. It's just cool.
100%. And I love that you had, it sounds like a very similar experience that I did as I was hearing it, because you guys maybe don't get this. And I don't know if I expressed this to her in the second half of the interview or post interview, but I shifted somewhere in the interview. I shifted my position from just like a curious host of this interview to like receiving and like really like, okay, wait a minute. So let me think through my life now. Like, I felt like I suddenly got on the couch. Yeah. And it was like so many places of like, oh man, yeah, that makes sense. That really connects with what I have experienced. And oh wow, I need to really look at this. And she says, oh man, there's so much gold in the second half. This is so normally what I would do with these interviews is I would show you guys this excerpt, right? and then I would simply point you to the full version, which I'm still going to do. The full version is going to be found not only at freedomstorymedia.com, but at the Freedom Story Media YouTube. That should be released. I'm going to get this one out there sooner than some of the others. I'm probably going to try to have that out there later this evening for you guys. So be on the lookout for that. Make sure you already go ahead and subscribe over at Freedom Story Media's YouTube. But rather than just simply pointing you guys to that, later on this week on this YouTube, I'm going to also give you the conclusion of this interview, because there's so much gold. Like she sets it all up, telling you her personal story, and you kind of walk through that journey with her. But then I think on the back end, there's so much in there that you, for your story, your journey, and whether it's in a toxic relationship or not, we all have our own brokenness that we bring to our situations right now. That, like, there's so much gold with frameworks to think through that I think really would be helpful for so many people. So I wanted to make sure that everybody gets all of that gold. So make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube so you can catch that as well. And for those of you guys on Facebook, I'll try to remember to share it there as well when I release that second video. And you'll also catch these all on audio if you're on the Pastor Fury audio experience. So you can subscribe over on that as well. But man, she broke down in what we heard right now. Not only did she break down her story, but she broke down kind of like the 3 phases of that abusive, toxic relationship. The ideal, the devaluing, and the discarding. And she didn't really get too much into discarding, but I think that kind of is obvious what that means. Right? And I'm done with you, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, but like there's so much in the devaluing stage that I think is where so many people get caught and get trapped. And it's because they, going into this, are at a place a lot like Katina was, and a lot like where I've been, and maybe where you have been as well, with that understanding, that broken understanding of self-worth.
Yes.
I'm not enough, that you're not enoughness. Like, I know that sounds like a weird turn of phrase, but I even like it because it's like, that's very clear. Like, you know? when she said that the first time, that was literally when I switched positions in the conversation. It was like, oh, yes, that's me. That's been my story. And there's so many places where that framework, that broken framework, has shown up in my life. And I didn't realize that I was operating from that, even after I've known Jesus and have tried to walk, with that new identity. So, man, I could go deep and long.
And I think it's like just an important topic, because I think, one, in the Black community, we don't do a lot of focusing on mental health. And then even in the church, there's like a stigma to it. So I think it's an important topic, and I think Christianity, and you have to be whole. And if you're not mentally whole, then you're not whole in Jesus if you're still dealing with past trauma and past hurts and all that. So I think it's good what she's talking about.
And I love how you said that you need to be whole. And like, that's one of the things that as I started this journey, and maybe a couple of years ago, really diving into more and more about what Jesus meant as he talks about justice and doing justly, and looking at the biblical frameworks of justice and the Hebrew and the Greek and all that. And I keep coming back to this word of shalom. And the shalom is the thing that God is ultimately after for all of his people. And there's it's often just translated simply to peace, but really the holistic, pun intended, understanding of that word shalom is that it's a wholeness that God is after for all of his people. And that includes, peace. That definitely references your spirituality, but it includes all realms of your life, that they would all be whole and in one piece, and there's a reparation of the brokenness that those that God is sending to work on justice, aka all of his people, are to be pursuing. How do I play a role in God repairing what's been broken? Big picture, right? And the person that I'm engaging with right now, the one that I know is struggling, like there's there's brokenness that God wants to be made whole. And we all have different places wherein that brokenness shows up. And the answer in all of those scenarios is in God and in more and more of his spirit. So so when we extract from that understanding, okay, let me slow down before I get too preachy. I just need to take a breath. I'm gonna still say what I'm gonna say. When we extract from that understanding of wholeness, pieces like mental health, even like physical health, we don't talk about that enough in the church. Come on, what gluttony? That's running wild.
Yeah.
But when we extract those pieces and we only focus on the spiritual understandings, we're selling the gospel short.
Yeah.
And God came for not just that. Like, that's important. Yes. Yeah. But he came for all of it to make it all whole,
Exactly.
And I think even right now, and you know this because you've been journeying with me in this, there's people that we know well that are really suffering from mental illness, and when the church isn't actively participating in how God may want to address that, that leaves people in a place where there's just the stigma, because if the church isn't addressing it, and the culture in their own way is.
Yeah,
that's always going to come with levels of shame and stigma and all of that, because they don't have an answer for that.
No.
The church does. So we need to come to the conversation with the whole gospel.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna stop.
No, that was good. That was good.
So you guys, if that has whet your appetite, definitely make sure you subscribe so you can catch the rest of that. Make sure you subscribe over to Freedom Story Media YouTube as well. But also, I want to point you to where you can get more of Katina stuff. So she's let us know that the best place for all of that is going to be over her website. That is thevalleyofgrace.com. Is it .com? Yes, .com. Valleyofgrace.com. So make sure you put the in there. And there you can find links to all of her social media stuff, because she's active on TikTok, Instagram, as well as her YouTube stuff. She goes live over there quite a bit and talks about, toxic relationships and that sort of thing. And I think some of the books, and she also has coaching available here that you can do coaching, and you can see that here. But some of the books that she really recommended specifically really were related to the being enough and the brokenness. And so the You Are Enough is her most recent release that really walks through a lot of the frameworks that she mentioned here today. In the second half of this, you'll hear her talk about, rewriting your software. Like, it's a great metaphor for just the way that you do life and the warning signs that come up. And she gets into this acronym of His Way, and I can't remember what it all is, like healing, identity, and I don't know, surrender, something like that. But it's gold. So a lot of that stuff is found in the You Are Enough, and more of how to apply that stuff is in her Broken Pieces. And she said between the two of those, you'll get like a really holistic understanding of a lot of the stuff that she brings to the table. But for a more tailored experience, go ahead and hit her up at her website, thevalleyofgrace.com. And she'd love to be connecting with you and do some one-on-one coaching. And I was telling her that when my friends, release books and things like that, I tend to buy them and maybe look at them a little bit simply for the sake of support. You know what I mean? Like, because I want to be there for you. But after that interview, I was like, okay, so I need this book.
Exactly.
I need this book. Like,
it's essential.
This is a book I actually just need to read. So
yeah.
Tammy, it's okay. Sister Tammy says she missed it. That's okay. You can rock it with us every time. Guess what? It doesn't go anywhere. So once we're done, you can go back and rewind. You can catch all of the video issues that I was having. It's like the technology galore. I've had to switch computers in the middle of this whole thing, and I am now operating from another computer as though nothing happened.
Yes.
But it's okay. It's okay. The devil tried to take us down, but we will not submit. We're gonna submit to the Lord.
Yes.
And keep it moving. Keep it moving. So you didn't miss. I mean, you missed everything, but but you can go back and catch it. It's not missed forever. Yeah, but having said that, man, this has been a great conversation. From now to the beginning of this conversation, like I even feel better. Like when we started off, I was talking about how I was feeling. So yeah. Thank you, Tammy. Yeah, we need to bind them demons in Jesus' name for real. Yeah. So I appreciate everybody for rocking with us this morning. Hope it has blessed you all today. Jario, you got any last words before we sign off?
No, just everybody check out that extended interview with Katina. It's a good one.
Show. Yeah, it's gonna be great. Trust me, y'all are gonna love it. And having said all that, I gotta get ready to go visit my mama. I miss my mama. Go down south suburbs. What you got going on today, Jaria? We're gonna get all in your business now.
I'm just cleaning up. Auntie Tammy's coming over for her birthday party tomorrow, so I gotta make sure my house is clean.
It's Auntie Tammy's birthday tomorrow.
No, it was the 22nd, but we're having a party tomorrow.
Well, I know I didn't tell you we were gonna do this, but we about to sing "Happy Birthday" to Auntie Tammy as we close out here. So I hope you got your vocal cords warmed up. So here we go. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. It's so bad. Happy birthday, Auntie Tammy. Happy birthday to you. It's hard to tell if we're off because of lag or
I know. Well, I'm just horrible at singing. So.
Hey, me too. That's okay. Well, we love you, Tammy, and I hope you had a great. Oh, was your birthday really too? Yeah. Oh, that's dope.
Yes,
that is dope.
Yeah.
So we're not gonna ask how old you turned on 2/22. We're gonna say you turned 22. It was your 22nd birthday on 2/22. You need a guitar in the background. Yeah. Too bad I can't play that much anymore. Although I can play that one. That's the bass. That one's easy. But anyways, we're gonna go ahead and sign out. Oh, she's 59 and feeling fine. There you go. Yep. All right. Well, happy belated, Tammy. And for all you guys out there, hope y'all are all having a blessed day, experiencing all the joy that comes with the Lord's presence with you. Trust me, if you are in him, he is with you and he will never forsake you. And we'll see you guys back here next time on the Pastor Fury YouTube and the Fury and Friends show.
Bye.
Peace. I have so much fun doing this with y'all.
I know. I love you, team.